Now, everyone, it's time to spread a bit of movie cheer. Welcome to the Movie Cheer Podcast, the show for movie fans. I am your host, AP, aka Mr. Movie Cheer, and on today's edition of the Movie Cheer Pod, we will be discussing the DCU Chapter One Gods and Monsters. Are we excited? Are we excited as comic book fans, as movie fans, as DC Comics fans? We had the big announcement this past week from James Gunn of that slate of, well, the first kind of like bit of that slate for Chapter 1, the Phase 1, if you like, of DCU movies. That is going to be today's headline topic, ladies and gents, but before we get to that headline topic of today's show, we are going to start off the show with a segment called What's Been on the Screen. Let's get to it. Ooh, what's been on the screen? The screen. What's been on the screen? What's been on the screen? What have I been watching over the past week or so, ladies and gents? Well, I am going to start off with a movie called Baby Driver. Baby Driver, this is an Edgar Wright directed movie, director of the Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End. I mean, Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz are two of my favourite comedies. I think they're great. So he kind of like was set in that sort of world of directing comedies, and now he's went into this other one. And this is a movie, obviously, quite a few years old now. I think it was about, was it like 2015 maybe, or maybe earlier. I'm pretty sure it was around that. I've not got the date written down, wrote down here. So, Baby Driver is a heist movie. It tells the story, the point of view of this young guy called Baby, who is this like really great getaway driver. And he is then sort of like put in loads of different crews by Kevin Spacey's character in this. He's like, has different crews for different crime jobs, like robbing banks, robbing shops and stuff like this. And he's always the getaway driver for every single mission on these sort of crime activities. And he's like I said, he's a great driver, but you see this story develop throughout this movie, that he doesn't necessarily want that life for himself, Baby, and he's trying to kind of like get out of that life of crime, and it's, it tells the story throughout the movie of him trying to get out of that without kind of going too deep into spoilers. But you got John Hammond there, Kevin Spacey. I didn't catch the young guy's name who plays Baby, but I've not seen him in a lot of other movies. I don't think I've seen him in anything else, this guy. What can I say though about this movie? It is totally different from what Edgar Wright has directed before, and from like Shaun of the Dead. If you've watched the movies, it's very, very different feel, but you do get a sense of his directing style. He's very quick-paced directing style. I feel at the top a lot of the times with his directing and the quick, he's just got like a certain like energy to his directing. I feel like Edgar Wright when you watch them movies, but I really like this movie. I thought there's some really great, from early on in the movie, some really great car chases. That's a gimme in this movie. There's some really good car chases throughout the movie. What I did like though, I like the story of this young guy who's trying to get out of crime, and he's trying to build a better life for himself, but he kind of, he's always getting pulled back into these sort of things, and even though he doesn't want to get into it, he wants to get out. What is really interesting though is, with this story and what I'd heard, over the years about this movie is, and I think I heard this when they were actually releasing it, that it was going to be like a movie set to a soundtrack. It's just going to be like one loop of a soundtrack, all this movie, and it kind of is a bit like that. And I didn't really understand what they meant by it. I thought it was just like going to be music all the way through the movie, and you do get that. So basically, the guy has tinnitus, and tinnitus is like this ear condition where if you've had some sort of damage to the eardrum, you can get like loud squeaking noises. I actually used to get it myself. Thankfully I don't have it anymore, but I had it for quite a few years from playing in bands, like when I was back in college. I used to play in bands, and we used to like rehearse, and we used to have the music blasting, and I get tinnitus. And tinnitus for me, I used to get like a for me a lot of it was like a loud like drum in my ear, and I would get this like loud. It felt like a heartbeat. It was so weird, a heartbeat in my ear. Just it would just like every so often it would just do this loud beat. And sometimes I would get like the screeching, and I do get that occasionally. Sometimes now, just every so often, a bit of a like high pitch in my ear. But when I used to really get it, it was so unbearable having like that beat in my ear. It was horrible. So this guy has that, and what he does in this movie, because it tells a story, something happened to him early on in his life, and then he suffers ear problems. So he has iPods, and he just listens to his headphones even when he's driving. He's always got music on, either in the car or on his headphones. And throughout this story, you've got him just listening to different songs on his iPod, and that is a soundtrack for the movie. And then you see him like in certain bits where the dialogue hits in, where he takes the headphones out, and then he's doing a bit of dialogue and explaining things, and then you hear like the music like dim down in the scenes, which I think is really well done. But yeah, some really great songs in this. A lot of like soul music. Queen, there's a Queen song in there. Such a deep cut of a Queen song. I think it's off. Might have been off. Was it Sheer Heart Attack, that album? I think that was the album. I think it's the album that's got Killer Queen on. I forget what the song was, but it's at the very near the end of the movie. They reference it early on with John Hamm's character, and then they play this song in another car sort of like action scene later on in the movie. But yeah, I think it was I really enjoyed this. I've been doing my list this year. Media Collector Madness, he's got me onto doing a list of what I'm watching this year, and what I've actually added to that as well on my phone. I'm putting every new movie I've watched, and now I don't know if I mentioned this in a week or in another video. I was doing it just like doing, you get the emojis where you get like the thumbs up. I've now changed it, so I'm going to do it like a free thumbs up system. One, if you're not like massively keen on it. Two, if it's, middle of the road. And three, if it's superb. Kind of like, well, no, I suppose like, and thumbs down is just like completely just disgusted in the movie. Never want to watch it again. I've so far only got Baby Driver is the only one with 2 thumbs up. So I think, think of it like out of a 3 score. If it's 2 thumbs up, it must be pretty decent. If it's a 3, it's got to be spectacular. So I'm saving them 3s. But I really, really did like this movie. I thought it was really good, a great soundtrack, really good story throughout. And what I liked as well, it kind of felt like there was like an end point of the movie for me near the end of the film. It felt like it come to its conclusion, but then it had something a bit extra in there. It felt like it was like, do you know what? A good filmmaker, and I think Edgar Wright is a very good filmmaker, where you have that big build, and then you have that build, and you think you've seen the end of it, and then it has like another build, another ending, another sort of like finality to it, where you're just like, wow, that was the blow off this needed. The ending, what he just showed us was good, but then he give us just something a bit more bite that really whet the appetite of me as a cinema goer, as a movie goer watching this at home. I really enjoyed it. So Baby Driver, well worth checking out if you've not got around to watching this one like myself. Next, I'm going to move on to the most recent episode of The Last of Us. I actually caught up with the last 2 episodes this past week, but this Last of Us episode 3, I will kind of get into spoilers with it, so if you've not watched it yet, I know it's a recent show, so some people may have not watched it yet. So spoilers for this episode ahead, ladies and gents. But yes, this episode start is, it kind of doesn't revolve so much around Ellie and Joel, the 2 survivors in this world in The Last of Us, on the journey to getting Ellie to a certain location. This one tells the story of Nick Offerman, who a lot of people would know from Parks and Recreation. He plays a character called Bill, who is this survivalist type character. And then you've got this other character played by an actor called Murray Bartlett. And I must say, I've not seen Murray Bartlett in anything, or I can't remember seeing him in anything. So I don't know if he's a known actor. He plays a character called Frank. So you've got Frank and Bill in there. And basically, we see early on in, obviously, this world in The Last of Us, we see, 2003 when the world collapses. And we see this really, really unique story of this 20-year story where it ends with Ellie and Joel visiting Bill's house, Bill and Frank's house, which they spoke about in like episode 2. And they find, Bill and Frank are no longer alive because they do like they both end their lives together. But we see this really interesting, really interesting love story build in kind of like a zombie apocalypse. I call it a zombie apocalypse because I suppose a monster apocalypse is probably a better word for this show, because I know they're not zombies. I keep on saying it's like a zombie show. This monster world. So we see this love story between these two men take place with Bill and Frank. And Bill is this survivalist character, and he's got all the guns. He's got like an underground base, and when all the military are kind of like getting rid of people and killing people, he's hiding out in his house, and then he sets up like this big like battleground in his neighborhood where he sets up these big fences. And then we see maybe like a year or two, a couple of years into his story in his his location he's in, a man falls into one of his traps. This man is Frank, and then he takes him in, gives him a meal, and then they end up falling in love. They have a relationship over this long time period. We see them growing old together, growing this relationship over the years, the struggles they have, them meeting Tess and Joel along the way and becoming acquaintances with them. And then it leads into obviously the end where I think Frank has some. I think he has some. They don't. I don't think they actually say what he has, but he's in a wheelchair and he has some sort of illness, and he wants to end his life. And then they decide together they're going to end their life. But it's such a gripping episode. Honestly, I thought it was great. I thought Nick Offerman as well. I really like him in Parks and Rec, but it's that's a comedy show. But he moves to this. But I think it's always that thing. Comedy actors always tend to do really well in drama roles, and he is superb in this. Absolutely superb. Not a role I would have thought he would have been good in this role, because it's completely different to Parks and Recreation. But it is just an absolute solid episode of TV, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it was just as well. You see. I like these episodes where you've got like these survivalists that are setting up the camps, and then you've got, you see throughout like people are attacking the home and stuff, and they're trying to defend the home. And I think it's just such a great episode. And the story as well was great, because it was very much a character episode of these two characters, growing old together, falling in love, and, also bringing Bill out of his shell a bit, because he's this guy who's a survivalist. He really coming out of his shell, and Frank was a bit more like extroverted, where he, trying to get Bill out of his shell. And I thought it was a really good story, and he wanted him to, link up with Joel and Tess, and great episode. I'm kind of disappointed in the way that we're not going to see them characters again as well, because they were really good characters. But for what we got a masterpiece of an episode, and for that, I'm really happy that we got a really solid episode of The Last of Us. And I'm looking forward to another episode now. It's so frustrating that we got to wait for another week. But yeah, it'll come around Monday, so that'll be round before you know it. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Let's get on to the last thing I've watched this week. The last movie I watched was Puss in Boots. I was going to say Puss and Boots. I always thought it was Puss and Boots, but it's Puss in Boots. It's the spin-off movie of the Shrek character Puss in Boots, played by Antonio Banderas. It is the little cat who's like the Mask of Zorro cat in that series, and he had a spin-off movie. Now, this was back in 2011, this movie came out, and it did all right money then. And I only wanted to watch this because there is a new one, and I think it's hit like the US recently over the past few weeks, but it has had its UK release just yesterday, February the 3rd. And it's the Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and apparently they're using a lot of the animation style of the Spider-Man Spider-Verse animation movie, that sort of style of animation for that new movie. But I thought in the meantime, let's give this a movie a watch. I like the Shrek movies. I think the last couple ones were a bit too much, and I'd have to rewatch them to kind of like see if I feel different about them. But I thought, the first two were pretty solid movies. This one is a really fun movie. It's the story is basically Puss is, I think it's set before Shrek, from what I gather of this story. He is this like sort of vigilante. The military in his town he was brought up in are after him because Humpty Dumpty, who is like kind of like his orphan brother, got him sort of like done for a crime he didn't do, and then they're kind of like arch nemesis, but they become friends throughout the story again because they were friends as children. But the story is Puss in Boots and Humpty Dumpty are trying to get these magical beans off Jack and Jill to go into go up the big beanstalk to get the giant golden eggs from this giant sort of bird. And that's the story. So they got to get these beans, magic beans, from the villains of the piece, Jack and Jill. But overall, you've got some really fun characters in there. It's very much, from if you enjoyed the Shrek universe of movies, this is a movie you will definitely enjoy. But I really watched it this morning. I give it a thumbs up from me, definitely. I enjoyed it. I thought the animation was fun. The story was fun as well. I like the characters in this. It was silly. There was a few adult jokes in there, which I imagine kids just totally goes over a child's head. But as an adult, you watch it and it just makes you laugh. I think early on in the movie, there was a few bit of adult humor where I was just like, that was pretty funny. But it is, I thought it was a really fun film, and I was surprised to see how much other content there is for this Puss in Boots character. There's like a Netflix TV show. There's an interactive one on Netflix as well. And also, you go down that rabbit hole, you go on Wikipedia, then you go on the internet in general, and you see that Shrek 5 is apparently in the works for about, I think it's 2024, 2025. You know what? I think maybe it's the time now for a Shrek 5. And I think if that new Puss in Boots, it's doing well, that Last Wish, I think it's doing really well at the box office. They probably thought, let's go for a Shrek 5. It's a big property. Get Puss in Boots in there as sort of like an appetizer with this new movie first. So Shrek 5 is apparently coming as well. And yeah, if you enjoy the Shrek movies, I'd definitely give this one a whirl. It's one for all the family, I would say. It's a fun movie as well. I think it's just a fun little story. You got this cat, this cat and Humpty Dumpty trying to get these magical beans off Jack and Jill, who I thought Jack and Jill in the nursery rhyme were brother and sister for some reason, but they're actually a married couple. I don't know. Maybe that's where I just had it in my head for years. Jack and Jill were brother and sister, but yeah, they're obviously husband and wife in this story, and they're like these big ogreish characters. But yeah, it's a good story, fun story, and one I enjoyed watching. Really, yeah, definitely give Puss in Boots a check out if you've not watched it before. It's got some fun music in there, fun story, fun characters. Well worth giving a go. But anyway, that's what's been on the screen this week. Let's move on to today's headline topic. The Movie Cheer Podcast presents the headline topic for the episode.
Remember to spread a bit of
headline topic. Headline topic.
Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer.
So today's headline topic, DCU Chapter One has been announced now. We've got the lineup. It's not the complete lineup, which was, so basically DC released a 6-minute video this past week with boss of the DCU films and sort of all the new studio sort of things. James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, he announced the current slate as it is, and he did say in this announcement that there is going to be more to be announced. This is not the complete load of what we're going to get for Chapter 1 of DCU, the DCU universe. And that's, first of all, I think that's interesting because you're thinking, what else is there to be announced? So that is exciting. But let's say what has been announced, and then we're going to go into it a bit more detail and give you my thoughts. So first of all, the lineup, we have got Creature Commandos, which is going to be an animated show. Apparently this is it's like a World War II type superhero show. All these sort of like weird characters. Like, it looks very much like a Guardians of the Galaxy meets sort of like Suicide Squad type deals. That's going to be an anime thing. A Waller TV show, which is going to follow Amanda Waller, and apparently that's going to have a bit of link up with the Peacemaker show as well. Some of them characters crossing over there. We have then Superman Legacy with a date of 2025, which is going to be obviously a new version of Superman. Henry Cavill not returning to that role. Then we have Lanterns, which is going to be a HBO Max TV show by the looks of it, or HBO series, which is going to follow Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. That is going to be a TV show, and he has likened it to True Detective, with these two guys investigating things on Earth and in space. Then we've got the Authority. I will say The Authority is going to be a movie. It is, from what I gather, it is based on the characters from a comic book run called Stormwatch. And Stormwatch is one I've read. I've read a couple of the volumes of the New 52. And they apparently, a lot of them characters from Stormwatch then start this new thing called The Authority. And I don't know when that comic book series began, but that is going to be a movie, The Authority. We have then Paradise Lost, which is going to be a live-action TV show, which is going to follow, I think it's the island of where Wonder Woman is born, and it's going to be like kind of like a Game of Thrones type show with all like the different clans and stuff on the island by the sounds of it. Then we have The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is going to be the Batman movie of the DCU, the introduction of Batman, and it's going to be Batman and Robin, but it's going to be an older version of Batman, but it's going to be, Robin is going to be Damian Wayne, the son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul. That is going to be a very, very different movie, so that's going to be the DCU version of Batman. Then we have Booster Gold, a movie called Booster Gold, which I believe I've been reading online. It is a time traveler movie where a guy from the future brings back or steals a load of tech from the future, comes back in time, and then people think he's like a superhero then. And that premise of that seems really fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. That'll be quite good. I've never heard of that character before though. Then we have Supergirl World of Tomorrow, which is going to be a movie, Supergirl movie, and it's going to be based on Krypton. When where Krypton, where she has seen all her family being torn apart and stuff like that. So it's not going to be Supergirl set on Earth, that movie. So that's going to be, again, a very different take from what we're going to see in the Superman movie, where it's going to be Clark Kent, Superman on Earth and dealing with Earth problems. She's going to be dealing with Krypton problems. So it's going to be more of like a space movie, I would imagine, with that one. And then finally, we have a horror movie for the DCU, which is going to be Swamp Thing. Swamp Thing, it had the TV show, which lasted one season a few years ago, and I think it got cancelled even before its last episode was released. And I think they did release the last episode eventually, but it never got a season 2, that one, even though I know a lot of people like that show, and I've never seen it, but it's got a bit of a cult following there. But we're getting a Swamp Thing movie, a horror movie it's going to be, within the DCU, and that was the end of the announcement, Chapter 1 of God and Monsters, this first phase of DCU projects. And I will say, and another thing he did saying this within this video, James Gunn, he said there will be, he said he wants everything to be within the DCU when it comes to TV shows, movies, video games, to all be canon and be played, if possible, by the same actors, and even if they're crossing over to animation, be played by them on the animation side of things and the game side of things. So it's going to be like the same. He did say if available. So I mean, say for instance they have a certain actor playing Batman in the live action. If they do then like an animated spin-off with the Batman character and it's within this DCU universe, they would want the same actor doing the voiceover. And same if they were featuring that character then in a video game, they would want the same actor again, if possible. Also, they said though, if there's like characters from like this Creature Commandos animated show, they will bring some of them characters over to live action. That is the plan, to bring animated characters to live action like they've done in Star Wars with like Ahsoka Tano, and they would like the voice actors to then go on to do the live action roles if possible. So that's kind of cool where they're saying that they want that crossover and they want it, continuity as well with the DCU, which I like. They've also said, he said with like properties like Matt Reeves' Batman and the Joker, they are going to be labeled Elseworlds. So they're going to make it very clear that these are not part of the main DCU universe. Also, which was again with all this, he said, before I get to an initial thoughts, it's going to be the Flash movie, then it's going to be Blue Beetle, and then Aquaman. But he said like the Flash is going to kind of reset the DCU. But them movies are not kind of a part of the DCU. They are kind of like the lead up to this start of it. So it's going to be interesting the way they work all these out. Is there going to be extra stuff filmed for them movies that are kind of setting up this movie? But initial thoughts, what do I think of it, this lineup as it is? Very, you know what, I saw this lineup, and I saw the lineup before I watched the video, and I was like, what, this is like, this to me is like a comic book lineup rather than a movie lineup. It is really, really different, not what I expected at all. I expected a Batman movie, expected a Superman movie like we all did. But I was kind of like up in the air. I thought we might have got like another big superhero put in there. And maybe again, this is where we're going to get in future announced. Maybe a Wonder Woman movie will be announced for this chapter 1 of the DCU. But it's kind of looking at it now. It is surprising because I didn't expect a Supergirl movie. The Authority. I didn't expect that. Like a Stormwatch movie. That seems such a random. I do like them characters, and I will get into them more in this later on in the pod. But I didn't expect that. And Swamp Thing. I never thought we'd get like a Swamp Thing movie again. I think that it just seems really. They don't seem the kind of properties that you would automatically select. But my initial thoughts are that James Gunn and Peter Safran, more James Gunn from what I know of his filmmaking, is a pretty smart guy. He reads comics, and I think you've got to just trust them that they're doing the right thing, because Guardians of the Galaxy was such a gamble, and it turned out to be really good, and one of my favourite MCU movies. And a lot of these ones, like Booster Gold, like I said, it's a character I've never heard of, but it could turn out to be like the next, the next Deadpool, or the next, like the next game, I'm going to say Game of Thrones, the next Guardians of the Galaxy. Same with the Supergirl and Swamp Thing. They're not particular properties that I'm excited for. They're not particular properties that I thought would be going and having that big screen release. But I'm still looking forward to it. I know Supergirl is going to feature in The Flash, so it'll be interesting to see whether the same actress who's playing her in the Flash movie is playing her in the Supergirl movie. That'll be good to see whether they do that or whether it's just completely fresh. But yeah, initial thoughts. I think it's a really, to me, yeah, I'm saying it. I think it's a bit of a random lineup. It feels like more like a slate of comic books rather than movies. But at the same time, I'm kind of very intrigued to see what's going on. I'm not kind of like thinking this is going to be, junk. It's not going to be garbage. It's not going to be Iron Man 3. I think I'm excited to see what they do here and to see what direction where they go, because it's a very different look. Let's compare it. How does it compare? How does this new DC slate of movies compare to what came before? So you had the initial one. We have like Aquaman. I mean, that came out after Justice League, didn't it? So leading up to Justice League, there wasn't much. It was just like the Batman versus Superman, Man of Steel, Wonder Woman. Did that come out before? And then it led into that Justice League movie. And it was really rushed. And they kind of just give us all of the big hitters. They give us Aquaman, Flash, what's his face? The guy, the mechanical guy. I can't think of his name. I'm saying Cyclops in my brain, but I can't think of his name now. Wonder Woman, Batman. They give us all the big hitters of the DCU, the DC Comics characters. But now they're going into like this different direction. Obviously, they're throwing Superman in there, Batman, but then they're giving us Swamp Thing. They're giving us the Authority. A very different lineup. But I think they kind of like maybe they've looked at it, James Gunn and Peter Safran. They thought, we can't do it the same route we've went before. Let's go a different direction. Let's give the audience something completely different. And I think that's what they've done here. They've given us a completely different view of what the DCU can be. And I think they've given us something that we didn't expect. And I think sometimes as well, that's a better thing. Having that, something we didn't expect and something that's not so obvious. A movie, a character a property that we, is not super obvious to us all. And they're giving us. And I think that's what they give us here. They give us a lineup here that is not complete yet, but they give us a lineup of movies that is giving us a bit of like, yeah, I'm interested to see what a Swamp Thing movie is going to be like. Booster Gold, this could be good. This could be something special. So I think really, comparing to what came before, I thought it was completely rushed because they were trying to copy what the MCU was doing, what their success was. I'm happy that they're now going to build up characters and give us a build of these new characters. And we might not see, all of these characters join into a Justice League movie, but there's going to be a connectivity of, a universe that all comes to one, and it's all, a laid universe of stories all kind of somewhat connecting up. I'm looking forward to it. So I want to talk about two of the projects here as well. Like I said, the Authority. First of all, let's talk about this. I only know it from reading the New 52 Stormwatch comics. Those comics are really good. Basically, the Stormwatch characters are this bunch of like misfit characters, really, led by Martian Manhunter, and they operate outside of space in like this big spaceship, and they're monitoring Earth's activity and space activity around Earth. And they try and stop different threats against Earth and try and basically they're a secret society. Not even the Justice League know of the Stormwatch, but they're like Earth protectors, and everything they do, they then like delete memories of people and stuff like that. There's like a guy in Stormwatch who can control. I think his name is Jack Hawksmoor, and his power is he talks to cities. And you're like, what? He talks to cities? And I'm like, yeah. He goes in and he goes and talks to like he goes like New York City, it would be like Gotham. He goes to Gotham City and he talks to the city, and like he can tell the city to try and protect itself against dark forces, dark threats, or he can kind of like tell the city to forget things or do things for him. It's such a bizarre thing, and it's again, there's a lot more characters like that in there where they're not your average characters. There's like a guy who's like a swordsman, like a master swordsman in there and stuff. There's a character who controls the news, who can like control and manipulate the news. Some weird characters in there, but if they take what is there from Stormwatch and put it into this Authority, again, I don't really know much about Authority of this set of comics, but if it's anything like Stormwatch, I think we're in for a treat. I think we're in for another Guardians of the Galaxy type movie. That sort of like really weird mesh of characters all into this great feast of a film. Next up, The Brave and the Bold, the new Batman movie. So the DCU version of Batman. Obviously, we're going to get Matt Reeves' trilogy with Robert Pattinson, and that's going to be separate. That's going to be in Elseworlds. He said that's not going to join up at any point with the DCU. And I'm glad about that. I think that's a good choice. I think it's a wise choice. But The Brave and the Bold, it is going to tell... I think this is based on a comic book run as well. I don't know the comic book. But it is it's an older Bruce Wayne and his young son, Damian Wayne. And Damian Wayne is playing the role of Robin in this. He takes on the Robin suit. And... sorry, I lost my voice then. And it's like the father and son superhero telling what we've never got in live action before, which is going to be really good to see. Obviously, we have the 90s movies with Robin, but it wasn't a father and son relationship. We've never had Damian Wayne in there before. I'll be honest, I read this first, and I totally took it the wrong way. I thought it was Damian Wayne playing Batman, and he was going to be the DCU version of Batman, and then it was going to be Robin. But yeah, Robin is Damian Wayne, and we're going to get that father and son story, which is going to be very different as well. I think that they've done it right here. It's going to be completely different to what Matt Reeves is doing with the Batman, unless he was going to have a Robin character in Batman 2. Maybe he was. Maybe he's having to change plans there. But yeah, I think it's going to be great. I think it's wise to do it differently. I think it's good as well, calling it The Brave and the Bold, because it gives it a different, less confusion to the Batman, giving it a different name. I'm really excited to know now who is going to be playing Batman? Who is going to be playing Bruce Wayne? Personally, they've not announced that he's not returning to the role like Henry Cavill. So I would love to see Ben Affleck. For me, I think he is the best Bruce Wayne, best Batman. I think he's not had his own movie yet. He's not had his own footing. But I think for what he has done in the movies, I really enjoy Ben Affleck as Batman. I would love to see it. I want to see Ben Affleck return in this movie and have him, kind of like a reboot of his character. Give him a beard, make him a bit, maybe age him up a bit more, and have this young character of Damian Wayne, father and son, going on the adventures in Gotham City, fighting crime. I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a really cracking movie. So, I want to get to this finally. Is this going to be a good first step for the DCU? This announcement of Chapter One, God and Monsters, this slate. Is this the right step, the best step, the good step that DC Comics, the DCU needed to start off with? And I really do think it is. I think it's a great first step. Like I said, they've done something completely different here, first of all. They've decided they're not going to go for the big team-up movie of the Justice League. There's actually been no announcement of Justice League. And maybe that will be a future announcement. Maybe like they say, Chapter 1 ends with Justice League. And I think that would be okay. Because you can have like an 8 to 10 year slate of movies. And then you finish it off with a Justice League then. But I think for now, I think this is a really solid slate. And they've given us a few interesting choices in there as well, where you kind of like, this could be it could be a hit or a miss. Swamp Thing, you're thinking, is this really the right sort of movie for the DCU? Who knows? But if they get the right filmmakers in there, if they got the right direction, the right stories, I think this is a really good step for the DCU. I'm really excited about it now. I think, the big hitters for me are The Brave and the Bold. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with the new Superman movie as well. But the Authority, that's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward as well when they say they're going to have characters from the animations cross over then to live action. And you're going to have that continuity of the same actors playing them. I think that's a really good choice. And maybe they won't be able to do it all the time, but it goes to show that it's like they're focused on every front now. They're focused on TV, movies, and video games, and having that continuity if they are linking up them stories within them different media formats. So yeah, I think it's a great step for the DCU. I think I think the right people are in charge finally. And I as a fan of movies, as a fan of comic book movies, I am very much looking forward to seeing Chapter 1. I can't wait now. I really am really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be super cool to see that first movie. And I can't wait to hear more now and to see more and see trailers and to see who's getting casted. And, it'd be so exciting. I think this is nice. Now, we've got this big project to get excited about as movie fans. And I am certainly excited. Are you excited? Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on this slate. Let me know if you are excited about the DCU Chapter 1, ladies and gents. That's the headline topic anyway for today's show. Let's move on to the next segment of the show.
Case covers take on other case covers. Can you handle that? Case cover collision. Case cover collision.
Case cover collision. Each and every week I choose a different movie and look at the different case covers for that movie and put them against each other to find out which one is the winner in case cover collision. And this week on case cover collision, I will be looking at the movie G.I. Joe Retaliation. There is a new release coming out soon of a 4K Steelbook, which I am going to be looking at today, the case cover for that movie. But let's first of all, I want to discuss this movie, the second G.I. Joe movie. This one, first of all, it felt like a movie that took quite a while to release. It felt like there was delays forever for this movie, and then it eventually got released. I really liked the first movie, but then they had like a bunch of new additions. Shannon Tatum features in a more small role. It's kind of like a reboot, a refresh of a lot of the characters in this one. A lot of new characters, led by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I keep on trying to tone back the Rock impressions. But yeah, it's got the Rock in the in as Roadblock in this movie, and it's again another really good adventure. Good like Snake Eyes is in there as well. You got him in the all your usual GI Joe characters as well. I really enjoy this. I think it's for me. It is just a fun action movie, fun characters. Just it's like a comic book movie, isn't it? It's a comic book movie. This toy range, GI Joe, the toys coming to life. Cobra Commander, all these different characters, these unusual characters, all coming to life in this live action. Over the top explosions, over the top fight scenes. I like it. I think it's a good movie. I like the Snake Eyes one as well. I think every one they've done so far, I've really enjoyed as a movie fan. They're my sort of movies. I love these sort of characters who are just like over the top and just super comic booky. That you're just like, yeah, this is my sort of business. This is my sort of movie. Anyway, that's what I think about the movie. But let's look at the case covers. So first of all, we're going to look at this new 4K steelbook. It's a G.I. Joe Retaliation 4K steelbook. It includes the Blu-ray, and it is, feature. Look at this front and center. One character on the front of this cover. You see who they think is the show. The one who's going to get people, audiences into buying this movie. You have got The Rock on his own on the front cover, all in his kind of like. It looks like he's like Arnie in Commando wear. He's got all his sort of like his jacket, his vest jacket on, his army jacket with all these weapons and stuff on him. And he's just looking into the distance. There's a big shot of The Rock here. And it's kind of like, it looks like a bit of like a hand-drawn look to The Rock here. It's like a stylized look to him as well. He's looking into the distance, close-up shot of him, mid-shot of his body though. In the background, you've got this like white background that is then caved with like a red, and I imagine the red is kind of like blood. It's looking like here. In the center, you've got the title text of G.I. Joe in this big white text in the middle of the screen on the chest of The Rock. Basically, here G.I. Joe Retaliation, and yeah, it's a nice looking cover. Very simple cover. What I do like though, I like the colors here. I like the white and the red in the background. I think it really stands out. And then you've got a Rock in there. You look at this guy; he's a beast. I said this with the Black Adam cover the other week. The guy is a mountain. He's a truck. He's a monster truck on legs. That basically the Rock. So you look at this guy and he's in all his army gear. You're going to get kind of like this soldier type movie. Maybe you look at this, you don't expect. What I would say looking at this, and from what I know about this movie and the characters within this movie, it doesn't necessarily give you an insight to what characters you're going to get as well as The Rock, like Cobra Commander, Snake Eyes. I'm look at this and it kind of looks more like a pure military movie where it's like maybe like a Commando, something like that, rather than more of like a comic booky toy line movie, live action movie. So I do like this cover. I like the colors, the use of colors. I think the stylization of The Rock in this is a really good shot of him as well. But I must say, I think it would benefit from featuring a few more of the characters here, just to get a viewpoint for audiences who maybe don't know what G.I. Joe is about, to see that there's more to this movie than just this army guy in it. And maybe you're thinking, you're looking at it, is this guy G.I. Joe? What is G.I. Joe? So yeah, you don't look at this and think it's a team-up movie. You think it's just a solo movie of The Rock as this army character, which I think is the only thing letting this particular cover down for this steelbook. But let's move on to the next cover. We're going to look at the DVD cover now of this movie. So my phone is just going crazy. I got all the images on my phone. Here we go. I think I pressed the wrong button. Here we go. The DVD cover for G.I. Joe Retaliation. Let's take a look at this DVD cover. This for me now is much more what I'm talking about. Where it is now shown this is a team-up movie. It's just not The Rock solo movie. It is a G.I. Joe team-up movie, a bunch of different, a good team, a bad team of characters, and you see them all on cover here. You see all the different characters, Storm Shadow, all the different great characters within this movie. So here we've got in the middle again, kind of like on a slant this time, the G.I. Joe text, Retaliation in a white. Then above, you've got all the good characters. Bruce Willis is in there, Shannon Tatum's character, Snake Eyes. The female character, is it Lady Jane in this? I can't remember which character that is. Then you've got in the background, you've got like a city landscape, but it's like an orange-yellow colour, like an explosion colour to the background, and it obviously goes on to them characters there, the 5 characters on there. And then on the bottom of the screen, below the G.I. Joe Retaliation text, in more of like a cold, wintry blue colour. And you see again the effects taken on the characters as well. The colour grading is on the characters. You see like Cobra Commander, Storm Shadow, and the 2 other characters in there as well. They are all the evil characters, the villains of this movie. So you see the good guys and the bad guys, and you see obviously the costumes of like Cobra Commander. It's not like a military movie. You see now this is like kind of like a superhero type movie, a comic book movie. You get an idea of what you're going to see a bit more. It's going to be a bit more of like that sort of like family superhero type story. You're going to get, well, family, I wouldn't say superhero, but you know, you're getting a comic book action movie, superhero type movie. You know what you're going to expect. It's not a military, like a commando, what I'm saying. But I love this. I love the use of colours here. I think, you know, having all them characters on the screen as well is a great choice. For me, this is by far the better one so far on Case Cover Collision. I think this is much better than the first one because you get an idea of what you're going to see on screen. And I think if you're going down a movie aisle, you see this, you know, I think you know what you're going to expect more, and I think you're going to be more intrigued to watch it if you're a sort of fan of like them sort of movies. So yeah, for me, the DVD is winning so far on Case Cover Collision. Let's move to the next shot. Right, well, the next case cover, sorry. The next one is the Blu-ray release. This one is a bit different again. Well, very different, I'd say. This is now, we've got all the, we've got, you know, Snake Eyes, Bruce Willis' character of G.I. Joe on there, Shannon Tatum, The Rock, a few different characters, and then we've got, you know, The Rock is central to that. He is at the top of it, and then you've got all the other characters sort of like going further down, and then you've got the G.I. Joe text in the white bold text in the middle again. But in the background, you've got like this white sort of it's like a white smoke colour, and then it drops to like a darker grey blue colour, and then you've got sort of like these little bits, little sparks of red flames at the very bottom where you've got like Storm Shadow. But it is a very plain cover, this one. It looks really a very just like a botch cover. I think like it just doesn't, all the characters for me, they look all out of place. They look like they're all looking in like different directions. It feels like The Rock is looking kind of like to the right, sorry. Bruce Willis is looking to the left. And not that it's like, it's bad. Like on certain covers it works well at, but it looks like they're all like, it looks like the shots were just, you know, mismatched shots and the wrong shots put in. They could have got better photography for the characters here. Like Shannon Tatum, he's just looking straight on at the camera. And it just looks, it would look better if he was looking more into the distance, like Snake Eyes is, because he's on the same sort of angle as Snake Eyes. So it just looks a bit weird. The cover, it looks a bit like a botched cover, a botched case cover, this one. I think it really doesn't really, it shows you the characters and it shows what movie you're going to get. But for me, it looks like a bargain bin movie. Like it doesn't look like a big budget movie, which this movie was. And for me, this is a poor cover. It's a poor case cover. I would be disappointed. I wouldn't want this on my shelf. If I was going for the Blu-ray, I'd go for the Blu-ray, which was the DVD case cover. That's what I would go for personally. I don't think it's a good case cover. I think even the 4K with its limited, you know, characters on that cover is better than this because I think it just doesn't look exciting to me. So yeah, I think so far the DVD is winning on Case Cover Collision. Let's move to the final case cover of this one. Now this one is the next one is the Blu-ray 3D cover of G.I. Joe Retaliation. Now on this, it features very much the same background as the last Blu-ray, but it features all the kind of the problems of the first case cover on the 4K. It has Snake Eyes on the cover, same size as the Rock Roadblock on the first case cover of that 4K. He is front and central. No other characters are on this case cover. and he's got his sword. And look, Snake Eyes is a cool character. I like his look, but again, you don't see any more of the characters. And I think maybe this is a bit better than the 4K, only for the reason that you see this guy in a mask and he's got a sword, and then you're thinking it looks like a superhero type movie, a comic book movie. Whereas like The Rock on the 4K cover doesn't feature that. So I will change my opinion though, and will change my mood to this, and my sort of like look and opinion of this. For that reason, it is a bit more exciting because of that reason, because you've got Snake Eyes, which is a bit more of an interesting character to look at rather than Rock. But yeah, it's got that white, silvery, smoky background, and I think it's got the Cobra Commander logo, Cobra logo there, and then you've got flames at the bottom of this case cover here. In the central, you've got G.I. Joe in the white text again, Retaliation, and then 3D in big letters. This is a 3D movie. Never got into 3D, never been a big fan of 3D. But where does this stand on case cover collision? I think for me, this one is better than the 4K, better than the Blu-ray, but the DVD is still my favourite out of these. So that means today's winner for case cover collision is the DVD cover, featuring all them different characters of this movie. I think is a great idea for this sort of big team-up movie. All them interesting characters with all their cool looks. You get an idea of what you're going to watch if you're seeing it in an aisle down HMV or wherever you're shopping. And I think it's just a shame if you feature just one character in a big G.I. Joe team-up. It's a team-up movie. It's not a solo movie. It's not one guy called G.I. Joe. It's a team-up of all these different cool characters involved. And that's why the DVD case cover for me is the winner. I think it's a much better cover than the rest of them. And it is the winner of this edition of Case Cover Collision. Let's move on anyway to the Amazon Top 10.
The Amazon Top 10 is approaching. Prepare yourself. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Amazon Top 10 has arrived.
The Amazon Top 10. Each and every week I give you the Amazon Top 10 for Amazon.co.uk for bestsellers on DVDs, Blu-rays, and 4K sales. Let's get to it. So at number 10, we have the Blu-ray release of Black Adam. At number 9, we have Downton Abbey: A New Era on DVD. At number 8, we have Mrs. Harris Goes to Paris. At number 7, we have the Blu-ray release of Black Panther 2: Wakanda Forever. At number 6, we have the Blu-ray release of Elvis. At number 5, we have the Banshees of I still can't pronounce it. The Banshees of Inisherin. At number 5 on DVD. At number 4, we have the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4K Blu-ray release, as a new release of that. At number 3, we have the DVD release of Black Panther 2. At number 2, we have Doctor Who: The Collection Season 9 on Blu-ray. And at number 1, still leading the pack, we have Elvis on DVD. Still not lost that accent, but it's good. It's good. It's a good accent, a good performance, and a top movie all round. That is the Amazon Top 10 for this week, ladies and gents. Let's move on to the next and final segment of today's show. So the final segment of today's show, Not So Worthy Blockbuster Housekeeping. This is the part of the show where I discuss what's going on with the channel, what's going on with the Movie Cheer Town community, and it's just a general chit-chat at the end of the show where we just discuss what is going on with the Movie Cheer Town podcast in general. So first of all, I want to say, Patreon this past week, we do it's a new Patreon video on the last Monday of every month. There was another quick topics video on this week. It's like an 18-minute video. It's led by the topic of big screens versus small screens, talking about TV screens and, projector screens, and there's a few other cool movie-related topics on there. You can join Patreon for $1 or less, I will leave in the links below for Patreon. If you do want to come and join, there's plenty of stuff in the Movie Cheer Vault, loads of content, podcasts, videos, audio commentaries, tons in there, and you can come and go as you please in this community. I never feel bad if you want to come and go. It's fine by me, but it's there if you want a bit of more Movie Cheer content. But that's Patreon this past week. I want to talk about the few of the comments on last week's video. We had the quick topics as well on the main channel last week, and that was led by the topic of 2023 movie room goals. I discussed my own goals, and I put it out to everyone in the community. What were your goals for 2023? What are you planning to do? And I've some great comments. I've only selected a few, so I've not selected every comment, but I do thank everyone for commenting on that video. First of all, we've got Jed Halpin. Jed has said, my goal is the same as last year. Keep collecting DVDs by working through my remaining Excel spreadsheet movie list. I think I've got about 300 still to go. Then I'll start picking up some newer movies. But there isn't many of those I'm interested in, with a few exceptions. Then get my NAS setup sorted with MB Dolphin or Plex server. So he's on about like getting, put them all on digital as well, so we can use Plex as well. Jed says, I probably watched around 200 movies last year, many new ones as well. And he said, I would love to see a video of you creating a video shop room. That's in my future too. Long live the home video shop. Here, Jed. I hear you right, buddy. Great comment by Jed, and he's got it right. He's watching plenty of movies, and I'm really interested to hear more about his the movies he's going to be watching this year. So Jed's a great guy, a great member of this community. Also, we have another comment here from Friday night at the video store, and that is from Simon, and he's got a great Instagram account. Check out Simon on Instagram Friday night at the video store. And he said, 90s video shop, you say? ? Now we're talking. Great comment. Who wouldn't want to create a 90s video shop in the movie room? I think it's a passion for us all. But there are a few of the comments from last week's video, and a big thank you to everyone for making them comments. And I also want to say now, we have got a big event coming up. For the 50th episode of the podcast, we did a collaboration episode, and I'm going to throw it out there to the Movie Cheer Town community. Show 100, this is episode 98 of the podcast now. Show 100 is coming up in like 2 weeks' time. I'm going to throw it out there. If you are interested in getting involved in a short, in a collaboration, I'm looking for a quick, a video of like, maybe it's like 5 minutes or so, or 10 minutes, like let's say up to 5 to 10 minutes video. It can even be a short video. You want to do it in a 30-second clip. I'm looking for video clips of your favorite, so here it is, 90s movies. There's going to be the show topic, and I'm going to give you the choice to make a selection, your greatest selection from the 90s movies. But you've got to give me 3 choices. 1 for comedy, 1 for action, and 1 for sci-fi. 1 for each of them. So you can only give me 3 movies, a comedy, an action, and a sci-fi. There can be some, like, if it's a sci-fi action, I'll let it pass. But I want your choices, and I want it'd be great to get, some newer people, new members of the Movie Cheer Town community as well involved. If you're interested in sending me a video, send me a message on Instagram or drop me a comment below, and I'll let you know how to send that. I'm also going to put out some on the community tab this week, so you can get involved in that as well. But if you're like I said, if you're interested, drop me a message. It'd be great to get more people involved in that video and that collaboration. But that is it for the not so worthy Blockbuster housekeeping for this week, and that's it for another show. This show, the DCU Chapter One. What did you think of it? What are your thoughts? Let me know all your thoughts. But it's been a great show as always. If you enjoyed this episode today, please do give it a like and leave a comment below with all of your thoughts on all of today's show comments. And subscribe to the podcast if you're not already. If you're listening to this on an app of your choice, a podcast app, subscribe to the podcast on there and leave a 5-star review. It really helps the podcast to grow, and send me a link to that review, a screenshot of it. I will read it out on the show as well. But it's been another great show. What are you thinking? The DCU Chapter 1. Are you excited, ladies and gents? Let me know your thoughts. It's been a really good show as always. Thank you very much for watching, ladies and gents. Remember to spread a bit of movie cheer. And as always, I will see you next time.